Hey guys, welcome to the Real Life Show. We are back again with another episode, and today this is our final instalment of Real Life Show on tour.
Yeah.
We have
Really
travelled
exciting.
to Gloucester
Yeah.
to one church to see Amy and Nathan Jorden.
Yay! Thanks
Welcome,
for having
guys.
us.
Thank
to the Real
you.
Life Show.
Hey.
Great to have you on.
Yeah.
Amy and Nathan are brother and sister.
Yep.
Just one by one, introduce yourself, what you do here at One Church, and just a little bit about yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
Amy, do you want to go first?
Yes, so I'm Amy. I have immediately forgotten what you've just asked me to say. I am 34,
Nice.
work in one church. So we both work in one church. You're laughing at I've painted
think we
my
should start with
nails.
your-
This is right, real life. This is real life.
Show. It is the Real Life Show.
I painted my nails because my brother failed to bring my
Nathan.
nail varnish
Oh.
Why did
remover
you paint them with?
with permanent marker.
Oh,
So he's just laughing
Oh
at,
my days.
at me.
Amy, that's
doing that.
Come on.
Come on.
I quite like it.
Yeah,
though.
I
Oh,
quite
you would
like
never
it.
have known.
No.
It's
Thank
not
you.
blended in with the
I
pink a
was
little bit.
thinking, how has that dried so quickly?
Mhm.
And there we go.
Permanent
It's not
markers
actually
away.
nail varnish.
There you go.
I mean, that's
It's a
inventive.
tip for all the listeners. There you go.
They don't take anything else away.
Nice.
Yeah, we both work at one church. We're very professional and adult. And yeah, so one of the pastors here look after our Sunday services and events and things like that.
Wonderful.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah. And
Nathan?
I'm Nathan, 33, Amy's younger brother.
Mhm.
So people ask that.
Okay.
I've been working here for 10 years by one church. You've been here for 9, right? Yeah. So in that sense, I'm Amy's line manager.
Oh,
So that's talking about the dynamics like with work and things.
Not true.
This is
we'll get into
brilliant.
that. Yeah.
This is
No,
brilliant.
and it's, one of the pastors, I look after all of our discipleship, so we'll call that Grow,
Right.
and also oversee our youth ministry as well,
Oh,
and all of
wow.
online.
What
So
about
yeah,
mine?
that's
a lot.
my like you say more than names mentioned. Again, but yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
you work alongside each other day in, day out. What's that like? Office together?
Yeah, you get a feel for what it's like.
Yeah.
So no, it is fine. We get on really well, and we do have like our own portfolios, so that works well. The problem comes when we've recognised an issue with being siblings and working together is that you don't take each other's requests as seriously as when
Yeah.
somebody else asks you. So if
Okay.
somebody else asks
Yeah.
you to do something, you get on it and do it.
Yeah.
If Nath asked me to do something, I think, yeah, I can wait. That's all right. And there have been multiple times where things have been dropped because we've asked each other to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the
Wow,
downsides.
that is interesting.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is usually me not.
You dropping the ball.
Yeah, you were kind then to make that seem like an even thing, but usually like Amy asked me to do something. Yeah. You
Yeah.
ask me to do something, and I'll instantly it just goes quite low down the priority list in my own mind.
Yeah.
So we've had to answer your question, we've had to be quite intentional with that. To
Yeah.
like, go, okay, how can we actually work well together and not just go, that's just my sister asking me. It's like
Yeah.
that's a colleague as well.
Yeah.
And that's not an always easy
Yeah.
thing
No,
to
it's
achieve.
not.
but-
Yeah, and also actually, like, we recognise we are quite similar in terms of the way that we think about things.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had to be deliberate about making sure we've got other people's like thoughts. If we're planning something, we can just like quite easily run away just with our own way of thinking about things because often we're right, so it makes it nice and easy. But it's important to get other perspectives in the room that
Yeah,
are all different
definitely.
thinkers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that we've learned working together.
Nice.
Wow, that's really good.
Lovely.
So we have kind of already started, but we always start here. When did you come to know Jesus, Nathan?
So we were brought up in a Christian home. Mum and dad both loved the Lord. Always faith was always a part of our lives, praying regularly at home, being brought to the church that we're in now. We're working for the church that we were born into.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so
oh,
yeah,
wow.
been attending for 33 years.
That's
this
amazing.
Space. Yeah, and I guess there's been times where I used to resent that a little bit, feeling like,
Okay.
well, I had no other choice in the process. But where I'm at now, I look back and I thank God for the family,
Yeah.
immediate family, so mum and dad,
Definitely.
but also the wider church family that we were brought up in.
Yeah.
So for me, I think first Jesus was always introduced to me, and I always knew Jesus as as a first and foremost like a friend, someone that you could have a relationship with. And so I remember, like, even as a young child, like 4, 5, must have been around that age. Church here was great. It always, like, there's a wonderful history of good children's ministry, and so we grew up and enjoyed that. It was always fun. I never felt like do you know what I mean? It was always like, I've got good, fond memories of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember some amazing kids leaders, which I'm so grateful for, that
Yeah.
introduced me to Jesus when I was young.
Wow.
So I've always had that. Jesus first and foremost is a friend to me.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, and that's the faith that I grew up with.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 for me.
Wow, that's wonderful. Amy?
Yeah, so pretty much the same kind of age for me. It would have been 4. And I really vividly remember being at a kids camp and that moment of like putting your hands up.
Yeah.
And so that for me now makes me think, whenever I see kids in like our Sunday school, or, like our kids' church, that like not to take for granted the fact that actually they do understand and they can comprehend, and even at a really young age God can impact them, because that was me at like 4. So
100%. And that's the beauty of the gospel, isn't it? That like there's always more to discover. There's always new depths to go to, but like even a child can comprehend. God loves me, and I can love God. It's just a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Wow, that really is quite special.
Yeah.
Like that, this was your childhood, fond memories, like incredible kids leaders. Like that's nothing to be taken for granted.
Yeah.
Is it? Like
that's it.
that
And
is
like
so cool.
we're, I think, really grateful for our church, because people are so kind and so gracious, because they've seen us grow up in church and
Through
be
every stage.
like the awkward teenager stage, but still they're so gracious and like I guess, and now like serve under us leading, which is just amazing. So really grateful for that.
Did you have like you say like 4 or 5 was when you said yes to Jesus? Did you have like that moment where, because you said like your exposure to churches growing up, you grew up in a Christian household, so it was you were at church weekly. Was there a moment that you can like pinpoint and go, that was when like it became my faith? Or people talk about they resting on their parents' faith and it becomes something for yourself. Was there a switch, or would you think it was a gradual, just you went from A to B quickly?
Yeah, I think for me, again, that relationship thing was really authentic and real for me as a child. So, and our parents, I'm really grateful for them. I've got kids of my own now, and I'm trying my best to emulate what they did for me, which they gave me space. They demonstrated like Jesus' love to me, but then gave me space to find that for myself. So I never felt like coerced or like forced into it. So it always felt like, to a degree, it was mine. But my journey is, so I've been involved with youth ministry. That's where you and I met, actually, wasn't it, Josh? Yeah, I've been involved with youth ministry for years and years. So I tell young people this story quite often. My journey is, I grew up and I became 2 people, I think. So I had the church version of me, and then I had the sixth form school version of me. And they more and more, they were becoming like 2 different people. So this would have been around 16, 17 in particular. And I felt a call of God on my life to serve Jesus and to follow his plan for me. But then I also felt a real strong, I guess, like pull into the world. It was like I loved partying, I loved being with my mates, and that whole, I loved like chasing the high and all of that. And more, the person I was here on a Sunday was different to the person I was at school. And I felt like there was times where I had to make a choice there. And I thank God for those moments in the kids ministry where I had like these genuine encounters with Jesus, because they were undeniable. And I do believe they saved me from like fully kind of going away from God. I never really kind of like rebelled, but there was one moment in particular, to get to your question, like was there like this defining moment? I remember like my mates were going away on a holiday to Magaluf, and this was like one of the first times that they could go like enjoy freedom, and it was going to be amazing. And I really wanted to go. I had the option of doing that or like a mission to somewhere in the UK. So this would have been 16, 17, around that age, maybe 18. In that bracket of life. You just finished in 6th form. You got your job, and they're off. And I remember going like, I felt God really called me, say like, no, I've got something for you, and you have to trust me in this. And I remember this feeling of like, well, okay, I'll go on the mission then. And it felt like I'll say goodbye to the fun life, like to the parties. I'll lay that down. Like, there goes all of my adventures. I guess this is me following Jesus and being like almost like stuck in this life. And went on the mission. It was good and sort of followed that. And but there was this feeling in the back of my mind that like, oh, maybe I've missed out. And that was always a challenge. But did my best to follow the call of God. And you know, the crazy places that God has taken me to, and the things that I've been able to do, and some of the adventures and some of the amazing people that we've met over the years within youth ministry and things like that, it's been incredible. And cut forward, so this would have been like maybe 18, cut forward to when I'm 28. And there I felt, when I was 18, I felt like I maybe missed out. I wanted to travel, wanted to see the world, wanted to go and have this party with my mates, but put that down. Now I'm 28, I'm on a mission in Zimbabwe. And we're in rural Africa, and I'm stood on the back of this truck, and I was able to preach the gospel. And in that moment, it's the best moment. About like 50 people get their life to Jesus, like in this massive blue sky, this crowd there. I remember seeing the horizon is like lined with mountains. And then we jump off the truck, and the guy who was leading the mission with us there, or the rep in the area, said, "Do you want to go shoot some guns?" So like we did this ministry, and he's like, "Do you want to go shoot some guns?" So like, yes. So basically, the Zimbabwean army were doing a recruitment day, so we got to go shoot AK-47s down a rifle range.
Oh wow!
So like, this is like the best day of my life now. Like past my wedding day and my kids being born. But in that moment, I felt like this little whisper, this little prompt from the Holy Spirit saying like, isn't this better than a drunken weekend in Magaluf?
Yeah.
Actually, I've got my these are my keys. I picked up one of the little cartridges from the rifle range there. I put it on my keys, and it's this little reminder, like just to trust God.
Yeah, wow.
Like, you know, delight yourself in the Lord, and the Scripture say, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. So like this passion to see the world, to travel, like that's way better than a drunken weekend in Magaluf.
Wow.
So like, back to your question, like I'm forever grateful for
Wow.
making that decision to follow Jesus.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, when I was 18, that was like, okay, laying down my life, my ways, trusting God, and haven't looked back. It's been an amazing adventure ever since.
Wow. Great.
Amazing that it was like 10 years later that
Yeah.
you heard the whisper. Do you know what I mean? That's an interesting, like, 10 years.
Yeah.
You didn't have, like you said, the mission. Yeah, it was okay, the one at 18.
Yeah.
It was okay, good.
Yeah.
And then it was at 28 where, like, God said, see?
Yes.
That's really
100%.
interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's often retrospectively, isn't it, that we see like
Yeah.
God's hand at work, and like, okay, there's where you were guiding
really
me.
good.
That's where you
Yeah.
held me, protected me. Like, goodness, where could I have been if I'd gone away and chosen not to do the mission? Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Amy, did you have any moments like that, like teenage years, young adult years?
Yeah. So
should we talk about your rebellious teenage years?
we don't need to go into any detail at all. But no, no.
I got loads of
I
stories.
just sat and
Yeah.
listened to
Yeah.
your whole spiel.
Didn't interject once. Yeah.
She really listened nicely.
Yeah. You can come back to that.
Yeah.
But similarly, I think had these moments of just, I guess that double life of knowing God, loving God, but also loving, like, being out with friends and that scene. But I remember it was probably around 18, 19, just this real sense of like the call of God. And it felt like I was almost being pulled out of the life that I was living in, or like almost pulled higher, like this sense of God, just things that I was doing weren't okay anymore, or the way I was living just wasn't going to cut it anymore, and just this real sense of God calling me to something. No idea what that was or what that looked like, couldn't articulate it at all, but just that real sense of calling. So like I made decisions, like changed the way that I was living, and then just started to like pursue whatever I could in terms of like how I could do that. So I pursued doing internship in church and volunteering for a year and all of that. to try and just chase whatever that call
Yeah.
was.
That's cool. So this might be a chance to talk about the rebellious years if you want to. But it was so we
Ask
wanted.
about the nose piercing.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, no, carry on. We can say.
I wanted to ask. Obviously, you obviously you talked about working alongside each other now, and obviously your brother and sister. So you've been alongside each other for years, all your lives. So what we wanted to ask you about your child. Like, did you get on like when you were younger? But when you were going through this time, like, were you in the same friendship groups, or were you watching each other's journeys from afar? Did you take any notice?
Mm-hmm.
Was it a thing you've always done together? Or is it something that, like, working together for the last 7, however many years it is, has kind of brought you back to doing this together again? What's that kind of journey been like?
Yeah, sure. Like, so I'd say, again, something that we're really grateful for with my parents is they really tried to foster and encourage just like friendships and opportunity for us to just like each other. So what they didn't really tolerate in our house was like if ever we got a bit nasty or cutting or sordid towards one another, that wasn't tolerated. So we had like quite a bit of freedom, but as soon as we started like going at one another, like that was like quite,
Like, for example, Nath, so we are very close in age. There's like 11 months between us. So I would often remind Nath that he was very much a mistake. So he was not meant to happen. So very much an accident.
There's a title.
Not just
There's the
a
podcast
surprise.
title.
My mum cried when she found out. So
Did she?
100%, yeah. Genuinely.
What?
Yeah,
Mum cried
I
when-
was like, she had like a couple of months old baby and then found out you were coming
Oh, you mean
along,
she cried when she found out?
that
what-
she was pregnant with
Oh,
you.
okay, right.
Not
Yeah.
not when you were born.
No, yeah. Yeah.
That was new news.
Yeah,
No, that is news.
yeah. Could
Wow.
often,
How do you feel
but
about
These
that?
revelations on this, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Well, we were getting on well.
We were.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did
it's
feel
probably
like
the
there was some
end
good
of this
synergy
working
between us.
relationship.
Yeah. Mum actually cried when she found out that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Through
often
counselling
remind him
and
it was a
time.
bit of a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah, you remember the question, do you?
No,
No,
it's just us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just couldn't go through it again.
that was traumatic
Yeah,
enough.
that's it, yeah.
Couldn't do
That's
it
it.
again.
It
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Bless her.
But yeah, you're right. So growing up, like we'd obviously, like siblings do, fight and bicker. But yeah, we were always, and we were in the same friendship group growing up, and like church, that was so important. I think we grew up having friends that came to church. We came to church a lot of the time for our friends, and we
Yeah.
were in the same kind of
Yeah.
group. Went to different senior schools then, and
And that helped, didn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You went to different schools.
yeah, so same
Oh, wow.
primary school, but then different senior schools.
Oh.
And so I think we were in again
interesting.
because he was.
Comprehensive grammar. Like, so
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know the difference.
I wasn't smart enough to get into her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What do they call them? The tests to get into the schools?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, you had to sit an exam to determine whether or not you got into the grammar schools. So you went to all girls school, didn't you?
Mm.
But I went to the state comprehensives. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's over the mistake thing yet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just reinforced. Yeah, from that moment. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so in church life though, we were always separate
Mm.
schools, but then always like round each other in church
Mm-hmm.
life. And that actually, I think that was really positive because so we did church together. We served on like youth band together growing up, and then worship team together. So I think there was always like there was friendship there, which really helped. And I guess I'm really grateful for, because that's not common. That's not guaranteed all the time with
Yeah, sure.
siblings. So
That's
Wow.
cool.
And so your parents, do they come to this church as well?
Mm.
So how's that like as a family unit coming into church? Because I've got Eden, she's 10, and we have this thing, Kids Connect group on a Tuesday, and so that's her opportunity to be at church without parents.
Yeah.
And like she has the best time. Like,
Yeah.
so how did you feel like coming with parents, like being, watching you and being close and stuff like that? How was that?
Yeah, I think again they seem to have stumbled on just giving us space, which I'm really grateful for. So like mum is like, she's a worship leader, like that's
Oh,
her,
wow.
like that's
Wow.
been her ministry. She doesn't do it anymore, bless her, but like that's what she grew up doing, and
Yeah.
has like quite a she's an intercessor, loves praying, speaks in tongues, prophecy. I remember the songs that she sang over us when we were really young. So like so grateful for a praying mum. Like she just
Yeah.
And my dad like has a faith, but like is very stoic and very just serves in the background. Like hates having a mic in his hand. Like he's do you know what I mean? He's like the total opposite in that regard. But just very gentle. But for me, has just given such a Christ-like example of like how to serve humbly and just he's just so dedicated and committed. If he's his word is his bond. If he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. So like between the two of them, we were just given quite a nice example of just how to enjoy church, and we were given space for that. So it never felt like stifling, I guess. They gave us space too. I don't know if you would say the same. Maybe you're.
Yeah, I think growing up, we came to
Again, I wanna get to the nose
everything
piercing.
with them. I'm not going to talk about the nose piercing. We came to everything. So it was like Sunday morning, Sunday evening, midweek Bible study, kids groups, youth groups, worship practice. Like we would just be there
Proper
all the
church
time
kids.
with them. Like we're proper church kids. And I think some parents can worry that breeds a bit of resentment. Like you're always there or just like dragged along. But again, I think we were included in it. So and then we were involved then when we could be as well. So I think that really helped, that kind of inclusion. It just became normal to be around church together, but then also just released to like be involved in our own thing as well.
And at the same time, church wasn't. It was never it was never optional. Like it's just what we did. And I know there's a. I'm going to butcher the quote, but there's the pastor that says, if church is optional for you, Jesus will be unnecessary for your kids. It's words to that effect, isn't it? Of like it's like they'll do what you're doing, but sort of almost double it. And it was never an option. It was just this is who we are. We're people that love God and love His church. And that was
That's cool.
optional. Times where there was tension in that, where they would have watched us do stuff that wasn't necessarily, I don't know, you getting your nose piercing, things like that.
Just before we move
All
on,
right.
do you want to tell the nose?
I'll
tell the
tell
story.
it, Josh. Yeah, that's fine. So, speaking of like mum crying and things like that. So, me, it was the just being born or conceived. Apparently, that's what did it. But when you were a teenager, mum said she didn't want you to. How old were you? Like 12, 10?
No, so I was 16, and
12.
she said to
Yeah.
wait till I was 18.
In nice mind, it was 12.
Yeah, some child. But she said don't get your nose pierced.
Wait till you're 18.
Wait till you're 18.
And I didn't wait. And so
Got it
she
pierced.
came home, I'd had it done. She
Then
cried.
she cried.
she
Yeah.
cried.
I
So
felt
never
awful.
Not as a grown up. Yeah.
Only as a
Only before I was
fetus.
born. Yeah. That's what I made her cry. Yeah. Afterwards, it's this one.
Good.
Yeah. So there was tensions there, obviously, like in any family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's it. We by no means have been this perfect family. Like mum and dad have had conversations with parents saying like, well, how you've got 2 kids that are pastors now. How did you do it?
Yeah.
And like they prayed but they made mistakes. We were definitely not perfect, and we made mistakes. But I think they've always given us that like freedom, but prayed, and like so we've had independence, but always been included as well.
Yeah. I love that.
Was pastoring in ministry always something you wanted to get into?
Not for me, no. So again, like 18, just following that call of God, wanting to build church. Cut to when I was like 22, got a job in a fraud investigation company. Absolutely loved it. Just really happy to serve in church in my spare time, and then was like really building up my career, I guess, and like developing in HR, and could see that plan forward. And I remember being at home doing some training for the job, and it was gonna like really kind of propel me forward in what I was doing. But in hours into this training, and I had this thought of like, oh, I would so much rather be plowing this time into building church and not just building my career. And that for me was like at this defining moment of I'd love to have the opportunity to give my time to something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I'd given up a day a week to volunteer at church. So then when the opportunity came to work in church, I took it because I thought it's this opportunity to sow into something that I'm passionate about. But even then, I didn't see myself as being a pastor or a minister. But working in church and like being exposed to what it means to lead in church and having the opportunity to preach and teach, I think discovered my giftings and that sense of calling and been able to like hone and articulate that. So it's grown and developed over the time. Yeah.
So what was that first role then in church? Staff role?
So we did like a 3-year, so Nath did it a year before me. It was like a 3-year, it was an apprenticeship really. So you did your ministerial status as part of it, but you just got exposed to anything and everything, what it takes to run church. So given different opportunities, put on the preaching rota. And then at the end of the 3 years, both of us got the opportunity then to continue.
We both went for the same job, didn't we, the first time?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Who got it?
Yeah, and I got it first.
Phew.
Yeah.
I couldn't deal with like
I know.
another.
More rejection. Yeah, bad enough from my mum. Yeah. No, I got it first. Yeah.
I have a mistake.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's what I cried to myself after. Yeah. My life means something. Yeah. No, I got it first, didn't I? Yeah. Something like your theology was shaky or something like that in the interview. Yeah. Questionable theology. It took you a year. Circle back. Yeah. Go and read that. For me the same. So didn't plan that, and actually going into that job, the job title was a little ambiguous. So like it wasn't really clear what you were applying for. But in the same thing, by this point, so I'm mid-20s, so I'd done like 5 years in the financial industry. Was enjoying the career like at that point. Like twists and turns within that, but similar. Like I had a heart particularly for youth ministry. Like God like broken my heart and still has for that generation, and this was an opportunity to do that more and to give more time for it. And then it slowly dawned on me, wait, this is like a pastor's job. When you're kind of like going on the ministerial like training and stuff. I remember our senior minister asked me, he said like, so which one of the fivefold ministry gifts do you think you are? Because ahead of the like getting ministerial status, they're probably going to ask you that question. I don't know what that is. Like, it's like, why are you in this job? He said. Really? I don't know. Yeah, I'm discovering it as I go. Really. Yeah. But yeah, again, I think that's the goodness of God. Just like He doesn't fully show us everything that He's got for our lives. I think we'd all find it a little bit overwhelming, wouldn't we? And a bit daunting, and not walk towards that. But the goodness of God is just a bit at a time, like just revealing that to us. And like the times where I maybe got frustrated or confused, or I wasn't sure what that looked like for me. Like, is it ministry? Was it the financial career? Like, what should it have been? The verse that I keep coming back to, so 1 Peter 5 verses 6 to 7. I've forgotten it.
And he was the one that got the job first.
It's gone out of my head.
Should we get it?
No, I can do it.
Come on.
I realised
This verse underpins everything that I know.
What happened in my brain at that moment was, wouldn't it be funny if you forgot it? And then like,
You did.
it's gone.
You did.
Yeah, like my life mantra.
What I keep coming back to.
Humble yourself, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. Cast your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you. Nice. And I think sometimes like it's pride that gets in the way, and it's pride that says, this is what I need to be doing in my life. This is the plan. Like, this is what my gifts are. God, this is what I should be doing. God, when's my opportunity to do this? But that verse, like, continually just like hits me in the face, and particularly before going into like getting more opportunities to do ministry. Like, humble yourself under God's hand, and He'll lift you up in due time. Like, so He'll move you, He'll appoint you, He'll direct you, and all the anxiety that we can feel around. Well, what is my calling? Like, what do I do? Well, I cast that on Him because He cares for me. Yeah. That's cool. So that's a constant reminder and all of that.
That's cool. That's nice. So, church leadership. You've been involved with it for 6 years. Well, how many years did you say?
This is my 10th.
10 and 9.
Yeah.
So you've been I know you guys through Young Lions. That's where you know Amy through ministry training. It's kind of before.
Yeah, can't remember how.
Our churches have known each other
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go back.
Yeah, but you've been I don't know if I can say this, but you've been around church leadership for a while now, and we wanted to ask. You're not old.
That's kind of
You're not
fun,
old
that's
at
what
all.
you-
You're not old at all. We wanted to ask you what have you learnt about yourselves, but also like what advice have you got for people who are kind of in this journey as well, about keeping themselves healthy and just I don't know. That's the kind of question. Yeah. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I think in this journey, I've really learned that I don't know everything. So when you're
Okay. Yeah.
when you're young, you think. Well, I remember being like 18 and thinking that, like, being on teams in church, thinking like, oh, I could do that so much better than they could, or like I could lead that better, or like I've got great ideas. But the more I've been in leadership, and almost the more I've learned, the more I realize I know nothing. And yeah, like this real sense of like the more we learn about who God is, the more we realize that we're just scratching the surface of who He is.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm trying to learn more and more. Like, I want to continue to learn, but also at the same time, like, keeping that real sense of, I know nothing and just need to rely on Him. So I think if I could tell somebody like this on the journey, it would be this like this sense of not needing to know anything, or it's not about like having like a great portfolio or like roles and responsibilities. Like, it's just being faithful with what's in your hand, and like starting small and not despising the day of the small beginnings. And yeah, just like with whatever you've got in your hand now, like do it as unto the Lord. And
Yeah, that's great, Amy.
yeah, step by step.
Yeah. Yeah. What about
So-
you, Nathan?
Yeah, I think what I have learnt, I'm still learning. So I'll answer it all together if that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's like what I'm learning, and also advice to anyone that's sort of stepping into it. So I've done a study on Daniel recently, and just looked at who he was. How did he like follow what God wanted him to do in the face of so much adversity? And I've shared this with our team recently, that 3 observations from Daniel. And 3 things that I'm trying to learn myself. So they all begin with S.
Good.
Yeah, no, just to help me remember as well. But he was sharp, shredded, and steady. So like at the beginning, you see the group of men that were picked out by the Babylonians to serve, and the Bible says of them that they demonstrated an understanding and an aptitude for all kinds of learning. So he had like and Daniel was one of them. He had like a sharpness about him, and an aptitude to learn. And for me, it's similar to what you were saying. Like, there's so much that I don't know, and there's so much that I want to learn, and I think that's that we can apply that to so many different areas, like intellectually, but like spiritually as well. Like, God always give me a passion to be a lifelong learner, to not just think, yeah, I know everything, I've done it for like 10 years, like I know nothing. So, but Daniel was sharp. So like, God, help me to be sharp. And the Bible said that Jesus says the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. So pray that He'll send workers. And I think sometimes it can feel like we're in the harvest field, but the sickle, unless we're learning, the sickle can become blunt.
Yeah,
So I'm like, God, give me an edge, give me a sharpness to what we're doing and what You're calling me to. So and then the second, him being shredded, like this isn't, I don't know if he had a 6-pack, but like it talks about his diet, doesn't it? That he didn't eat what the king's men ate. So his diet was different, and he looked different because of it. So I look at that and I go, like, God, what do You want me to be eating and consuming to do what You need me to do?
Wow,
You know, I don't want to just eat and consume what everyone's eating. It's so easy, isn't it, just to wake up in the morning and just you're dieting on what you're scrolling into, what you're listening to, and like our diets. I think in ministry, we just need to be intentional with them, and that takes time. I think just what am I feeding my mind? What am I feeding my spirit? And like, Lord, help me to eat something that You want me to eat, that makes me fit for purpose.
That's really good.
And then the steady part. So we see, like, so when he's brought into the king's service, he's 19, and that's when he sort of eats differently, and then we get the whole Daniel fast thing from that. And then we got the story. So that's Daniel chapter 1. You've got Daniel chapter 6, and that's Daniel in the lion's den, and that whole story. That's decades later. So he's now 80 when that's happening. So he's 80 when he's thrown into the lion's den, and it still says of him that they could find no fault with him, and that he prayed 3 times a day. So like Daniel's like remarkably consistent in just his conduct, in his heart to pray, and who he was, how he worked. So I was like, God, like make me that steady. Like just to, I think in this day and age, and I bring this back to like youth ministry and serving young people. What they need is consistent leaders, like not people that they hear one moment and gone the next. Like just some consistency, like consistently loving, consistently praying, consistently like ministering. So those things, like I'm praying God helps me to learn to be sharp, shredded, and steady.
That's really good.
3 things that others can try.
Where did you said it not long ago about your heart being broken for youth ministry, and still is. Where did that like youth ministry come from? Where did that heart for youth ministry start?
Yeah, a few places. I am the product of people that have invested into my life.
Yeah.
Some wonderful men of God that have just like spent time with me, and so I recognise that I wouldn't be where I am if not for those people that chose to spend time with me.
Yeah.
So that has always stuck with me, and I want to pass that on. So there's that. When I was I first had the opportunity to serve on the youth team, the school I went to, a young man that was younger than me, a few years younger, committed suicide, and it was in the local news. But he was basically bullied, and so he took his life. And so this is going back. So this is like 15 years ago now, and it's still really And I remember we were praying. So we're in the church now. Me and another youth leader were just praying out there, and just struck with this overwhelming sense of like, if only I could have spoken to that kid, like, and just told him that God loves him, that like he's not alone, and that like stick at this, mate, because there's brighter days ahead. And that was that broke me, that moment. So then I prayed like, God, like I'm not the most talented person. I don't know everything, but if you can use me, then use me. If you can send me to people like that, so that I might encourage someone. And by the grace of God, I've been able to like speak to hundreds of young people over the years, and go back into that school and share good news. We've been in, haven't we, a few times into that school, and that's never left. And like being honest, young people are well annoying sometimes, aren't they? Like, but have to come back to this. Like, God, just break my heart again to see that generation one for you. And it's not left me. I'm getting older and more irrelevant as I go. But
not true.
But still, So a heart that's broken for them.
That's amazing. That is. And Amy, you are a wonderful worship leader. Like, where does the passion for worship come from? Like, have you always been able to sing? Like, where's that come from?
Nathan, you sing?
No, I can sing in tune. I just can't sing well. You got that, didn't you? You can do that. I can't.
You got that.
So you ended up drumming?
Yeah, that's it. I can't sing drum.
That's great as well.
But that's it. So that again, that's our family. So Dad's a drummer, Mum's a worship leader. So we were brought up in worship teams, and they were leading the worship team. So yeah, we would be in our Sunday school productions, and I think probably at about 4 years old, like having a chance to sing a solo. But then again, just being brought up, our friends like were involved in worship and played instruments, and so we had a youth band and got involved in that way. So started leading worship in youth, and then probably about 17 started leading worship in church, and I've just done it for years, and it's something that I really, really enjoy. So it's like this beautiful opportunity to like outwork a hobby as well as as something I believe like is a real gift of God as well. So I remember like our pastor Simon said to me when I was 18, said like, have you ever thought about like having singing lessons? And I was so offended. Like, I was not happy. But then I thought about it, and then had probably since about 18, like, still have singing lessons, and it's just it's something that I really enjoy. Yeah, it's for me as well as like being able to like I could see it as like stewarding a gift as well, and looking after that. So
I absolutely love that.
Doing your grade 8 soon, aren't you?
Grade 8 this year. That's the
so
plan.
that's like honing your skill.
Yeah.
Wow.
You led worship at one of the AOG ministered training
Yeah.
That's really cool,
I'm
isn't
gonna look
it?
for some singing lessons. Wow, that is so cool. I would have been equally as offended. I think I'd have been the same.
Not take it well.
And then if you'd have said to me like
Josh,
Sunday after leading,
Yeah.
"Do you want to go and see V? V's someone in our church who would teach me how to sing." But I'll be like, no,
No.
I'm good. Do you want to go?
Got to remember. I really do. I don't understand why God hasn't given me this. Because I love singing. I love worship. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
They want a microphone but muted. That's what they want. That's what they keep asking me.
Andy said I can set the culture. But you said I've got a great car voice.
You have got a great car voice.
Something.
That is something.
We can work with that.
Yeah, you have got a great car voice.
That's it. Bible says about making a joyful noise. It doesn't say a
Joyful.
tuneful noise.
Joyful noise.
Joyful.
Hey,
Amen.
get me on Easter Sunday. I want to lead.
The band.
I want to lead worship.
The band's full. Oh dear. We have recently, I'll say recently, we've been doing Real Life Show for over a year now. But we've loved stepping into this space. Obviously, out of COVID, it was kind of, we had to come into this online space. And Nate, you said you do online within one church as well. So this question I'll direct at you.
Sure.
We've seen the benefits of this space and being on YouTube and being on Instagram and doing the reels and everything that comes in between. People kind of know why we did it, but we want to just ask you specifically why, and you've done the same, like we've seen some of the podcasts, and we'll speak to you, Amy, in a second about one that you did as well. But why was online important for one church, and why do you see that vehicle of church in this way as being important to carry on with?
Yeah, great question, and love the stuff that you guys are doing. By the way, this is all awesome and it's great, and I think we share the same passion to do it. So which I love. Yeah. I think fundamentally, and probably the same as you guys, it comes from a passion to share the story of Jesus. And that's what we do, isn't it? Like as the church and as Jesus followers, we want to get that message out there and communicate. This is what God has done in my life and other people's lives, and other ways that people can understand the gospel, and doing that through whatever means necessary. And so that's the driving why behind it, and the what of using online as a vehicle for that. It just makes a lot of sense. Like it's where you look at what Jesus did. He was where people were, and like in the online spaces, like YouTube, Instagram, like TikTok. It's where people are. So we should be in that space and and communicating the message of Jesus there. And I think that just the nature of communication has changed, hasn't it? Like in the last 20 years, it's rapidly changed how humans interact with each other. And these platforms are just how we do it now. So it provides and presents like real good opportunities to have conversations like this. So this kind of medium is really great of like the long form conversation. Like people can go to deeper levels and just understand one another in a way that just reading or a little soundbite doesn't quite convey. So anything like this, the reels, long conversations, podcasts, we're trying all we can. Some of them have been a massive spectacular failure. And just not worked. And I won't say what the first so we launched like One Church Online, as we call it now, and the very first comment that we ever got was a guy basically saying,
me it was negative.
"Oh, it was awful. Like it was like take this swear word, like this off social media." And like to be honest, it was very funny. It was like, "Welcome to the internet." Like, oh, we give that a go. Oh, that hurt.
We had a live stream once, which was the chat was taken over by some horrendous profiles. So I was it was while we were still in lockdown. You guys
dealt with that really quickly.
It was like Andy and Sarah literally just in their living room at home.
Oh yeah,
talking
to a
laptop.
Like a Thursday night live
like
thing,
just catching up with everybody. And the chat and it just filled with these terrible like comments.
It was the username.
So I was just like, I went upstairs to get my laptop open because I was watching my mom on the telly. Oh, this is amazing. I was probably crying because I was seeing pastors, not seeing them in 6 months in person, whatever. And then I'm like, so I had to run up and get my laptop, and I was just like spamming like like reporting them, report. Yeah, Andy started reading da da da. So it's this.
No, Andy.
And he was
Yeah.
like, oh, and then just report.
Oh, yeah.
Bad, wasn't it? So what was their fail? What did they?
Can you share?
What did they say? Well, basically get this off social media,
Oh,
but like
okay,
with a few
yeah.
colourful ways of putting it. Like,
Oh,
it made us laugh.
that's mean.
But it kind of like rips the plaster off a little bit at the same time, doesn't it? Yeah, it's like, here we are. And have, sometimes you just delete the comment, sometimes you engage.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful is that we have people in our church now that have found us online, connected in, attended church, got saved, got
That's
baptized,
amazing.
done the Alpha course,
Wow.
and are now serving and are active members of the church.
And that's the point.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the why.
So we've had interactions with people on the other side of the world that have engaged with the content, and that's helped them take their next step in faith. So the reach is massive.
Wow.
So that's what. So why wouldn't we give that a go? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But then the local reach of like just casting a net there and seeing what bites, seeing who's interested. We've just seen so much fruit from it. So we're going to continue in as many ways as we can, like what you guys are doing, just like trying to creatively communicate the message of Jesus.
Wow.
And we've seen a couple of your podcasts. You've done a deconstructing faith one.
Yes.
Amy, you've done a singleness one, which is quite a sensitive subject, isn't it? Like, where's your passion for that come from? What made you think, hang on, people need some wisdom on this?
Yeah, so we've just had we did the masters with the AOG Bible College, and I did my dissertation on the title was Paul's Views on Singleness and Their Relevance to the Contemporary Church.
Ooh,
Nice.
nice.
And I think the reason why I wanted to explore it is probably, so I'm in my 30s, nearly mid 30s, and single, and like being from Gloucester's like a relatively small city compared to some, like a smallish city, and being in a church within that city, all my friends got married at like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 was pushing it, like you were like a little bit late. So like everybody got married young, and I think by the grace of God, and I've been really grateful, I've like been totally fine, like dated at different times, but I've been like really content in that, and I've never really struggled with like, oh, I'm alone and all my friends are married. But I have seen, especially probably being like a pastor, have really seen how some people really struggle with being single, and it's been really hard. And I think in churches we don't necessarily make it the easiest place for people who are single. And I think that we can, out of a really good place of wanting to elevate and esteem marriage, like rightly so, but we can convey the message then sometimes that singleness then is second best or second rate. So like we're like praying until you get to that point, or like hold on until you find somebody, and then like your life and ministry will really take off. And so our environments aren't necessarily the easiest places for people that are single. So it was out of like this kind of pastoral, like, oh, I wonder if there's a better way that we can, how can we better disciple people that are single, and have a place where we both elevate and esteem marriage, but like Jesus was a like single savior, like he exampled that, and Paul celebrated and esteemed that as well. So like, how can we not put one over the other, but create an environment where everybody can like thrive not in their relationship status, but like in like their relationship with God. Was my heart behind it, I guess.
And have you had much feedback from the podcast where it's helped people?
Yeah, it's been
that one in particular, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that really seems to have struck a chord, and lots of people comment, and we've had a few messages come in just expressing gratitude for that one. As you say, it's probably not we don't often speak about that in church world, about how to be successfully single. There's just that unstated.
Because I think you can feel awkward. Because a lot of pastors are married. You can then potentially feel awkward, or even you don't know how somebody, you can feel awkward because again we've got this mentality that it's a negative thing to be single, and people then adopt that themselves, that it is a bad thing that they're single, so it gets all a little bit awkward and you don't know whether you should talk to somebody about it or like how you should talk to them about it, so we never preach about it, and we kind of stay away from the subject then. But I think that does perpetuate that thought that it's a negative thing. So yeah, I think it has been like a really positive, people are intrigued like to be talking about it. And
so with the themes, like how are you choosing the themes? Like is it just like a hot topic, this is what people are talking about, or like you identify a need within church? Like how are you coming up with the themes to talk about?
Yeah, both. But both of those things, we find what people are passionate about too. So that with Ames, me written on the deconstruction. Our friend Ed spoke about creation concern, like should Christians be concerned with the environment, eco-friendly and things like that. So he's passionate and knew a lot about it. So it's good to speak to someone that who's passionate about their thing. So we've got some in the pipeline about faith in sport, and people sharing their own personal stories as well. So a few exciting ones coming up as well.
It is a great space, isn't it? I've loved. Well, I guess probably similar for you guys. It was just were you online before lockdown?
Just.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We were just getting
hardly anything.
We had bought the kit to give it a go.
Oh,
so
wow.
like praise God. Yeah. So we
Great
had that.
timing.
And, and then like everyone we just
went.
Yeah.
Just went. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is amazing, isn't it? Like to say we have similar stories of seeing baptismals happen. Coming from just online, and at that moment where you where that name that was just a name on the chat, when that face to the name kind of moment when they walk in, you go, oh my days, we've been speaking to you on the chat for 6 months, but now you're here in person, like what can we do for you? I want to get baptised, and you're like, oh my days, that's a win for.
Or we've had like people who haven't been able to come to church because they're undergoing chemotherapy.
Wow.
And so like we've managed to connect with them, and that's the first time we've come to know them, and then we connect, and then we can make sure that they're getting whatever they need. And
lovely.
It's just
brilliant,
such a great tool, isn't it? It's absolutely wonderful.
And do you find people are quite familiar with you guys?
So familiar.
They've almost like built up that friendship with you. Which is nice.
bit.
Yeah, helps people get involved, doesn't it?
Nice, isn't it?
It only happened the other day when I was in the shop with Andy, and somebody said hello to me, and I said, Andy, because I out of just the politeness of my own heart, said, hi, how are you? Okay, presuming church. Presumed church. And Andy said, oh, that's that, and I was like, oh my days, where are they? Go back down. just because of hosting and being visible and like that. But that's like they'll know every host because they watch it week in, week out, and
and it's just such an easy thing to watch, isn't it? So like my non-Christian friends will watch this, and it's just an easy.
I
love it.
It's an easy thing, isn't it? Because
and I bet it makes it like, I think in some ways as well, it probably make it hard to come in because you get so used to the comfort of your own home and tuning online. But I guess if you do know faces going in, it might make it easier to walk in and go like, oh, I know Andy and Sarah, I know the pastors.
With anything, it's the first thing I do. If it's like a restaurant or going to a shop, like I will look at it online. I'll see what they've got. Before I go there. Yeah.
It's at the front door, isn't it?
It's the shop window.
Definitely.
Wow.
It's brilliant.
Wow. We just wanted to ask you as well. You spoke a lot about the calling on you guys' lives, and you use that word a lot. And that it's beautiful. Like when God speaks in and says, "This is where I want you to go." So run. We wanted to ask you about that. And specifically for we love the Real Life Show in the way that we have so many different types of people on the Real Life Show. Like we spoke, and last month the last month episode we had Paul Reed on, who completed another testimony and how he came into his roles, and then we have other people on who are not in ministry, and they're outside of the ministry bubble and church bubble, and they're out on the streets and doing what they're doing there. And I wanted to ask you guys, but for some people who are watching right now who are relating to some things that they've heard and going, okay, ministry or church, like I've started doing 1 day a week at church, and I'm really, really loving it, and I'm like, oh. I'm in the finance world, but it's not really scratching that itch kind of thing. What would you say is a great step for them to take and some advice maybe for them when they do feel a calling, but they don't know how to act on it. What would you say to those people?
So I'd say, like, don't seek position, and at the same time position yourself in that.
Yeah, great.
So don't seek position in that it is not about title and it's not about role. Like, Jesus totally sees the posture of our heart, and that's way more important than anything else.
Yeah.
So, like, serve with what's in your hand and do it as unto
Yeah.
the Lord. And
It's great.
yeah, and it's God that then elevates and esteems as we humble ourselves. I didn't forget the verse. And so,
Where
like,
is it?
Peter somewhere. So don't seek position, but then also I think there is something in positioning ourselves. So I remember went to Hillsong College in Australia for a year, and
Oh,
most of it was
wow.
made up with Americans. And one of the lecturers was from Sydney, and he said to all the Europeans, like, we need to learn from the Americans, because what they do is they're really good at positioning themselves for leadership, because they're not afraid to put themselves forward and talk themselves up and talk about what they're good about. As Europeans, we're rubbish at that. We're so rubbish at saying what we're good at, and we like to cut each other down, and like, it was this really good thought, I guess, an encouragement for me, that actually there is something in positioning ourselves, like, alongside the right people, or volunteering when we see an opportunity, so that we're deliberate about stepping forward and stepping into an opportunity. So not seeking position, but, like, if you've got an opportunity, take it, serve where you
Yeah,
can,
that's
like,
great.
get time with, like, good people that you aspire to be like. So yeah, that kind of tension paradox.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's really good. Amen.
Yeah, I love that. Well said. Yeah, agree with that. I think our language doesn't help, I think, with this, and I'm guilty of it. Like, we've used this language, and I will use it, but about, like, being called into ministry.
Yeah.
Like, we know what that means. We know, like, being called and have an opportunity to work and be employed by a church. But what can happen is we put that up here somewhere,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
somehow
true.
like it can give the impression that if you don't get that, you maybe have missed it, or like your
Yeah.
job is maybe second to that. But like that's not in scripture. Like, we've all been given the ministry of reconciliation in scripture. So, like, whatever we do as unto the Lord. You've said that. So I think it's recognizing fundamentally, it's like we're all called, like we're all used by God, and who pays us is second to that.
That's
And
really
getting that
good.
revelation, and
Yeah.
so, like, I love it. So we're Ephesians 2:10 says we're God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which He's prepared in advance for us to do. So for me, it's like that's a daily decision to go, like, okay, what are the good things you've prepared for me to do today? Like, who can I bless? Who can I speak to? Who can I encourage? And the big idea of calling, I think, is much more about daily movements and steps, just to be obedient to the next thing, and not get caught up in the whole, what does the next 10, 20, 30 years look like? But God, today, what are the good things that I can do for you today? And to enjoy that, to have some joy in those moments, and to cherish those moments.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Wow.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
That is, we've come to an end. We've come to an end. One thing we do with every guest,
Yes.
which we haven't prepared
Tradition.
before, but we should our tradition,
Tradition.
is to have a selfie.
Ah.
So we use it as our thumbnail for our video. So we never know how this is going to happen.
Where
Do you
shall I
want to?
go?
I've been thinking about it. Do you want to go in between?
You've been thinking about
I've been thinking about it in my head slightly. Do you want to go in between? And
Have you got the phone?
yep. This is always an awkward part for everybody to listen to. But this happens. Class.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Thank you, guys.
So cool.
Aw, thank you so much.
If you are a young person listening, we are heading to Thrive this summer. We're going to join you guys at
Yes.
Thrive.
Come on.
So,
exciting.
mate, well, you've heard from one church now, and you've heard the brilliance that comes. So join us. Come and let us, me, Rach, know at youth, and we'll come. We're going to go to where the Holy Spirit resides at Kefenlee
Yes.
in
Kefenlee.
Wales. You want to go there just to say you've been to Kefenlee.
Never been.
You
Need to
Yeah.
come.
Look at this. Never been.
How have you been in church for this long and never been to Kevin Lee?
Yeah. How have you managed? It's impressive that you managed that. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Have you
I've got
actively tried not
I've
to
got
go?
FOMO a little bit.
It's a
Aw.
wonderful place. I have like really bad memories of that hill going
Oh,
up.
yeah.
On my Young Lions physical, my first year was at Kevin Lee, and the hill, and Chappie from Audacious did it, and no, the physical is a brilliant part of Young Lions. I just had eggs thrown at me. I had to run up a hill with a tractor tyre, and then he jumped out with an egg right in my face.
I feel like it's softened though over the years.
Softened?
Like risk assessments have come
Yeah,
in.
it definitely has.
and-
Yeah, this is risk assessment.
I used to work with a beautiful older Anglican lady in the bank.
Yeah.
And I told her story just like that, and like I could see in her eyes, she was like, "I just don't." And then her reply was, "The things we do for the Lord." Yeah. That's
Oh, it's brilliant though. It
for the
shaped
Lord.
me.
Yeah.
It's completely shaped.
That's lovely.
It did. It really, and Young Lions, shape yourself. There you go. Thank you for coming there, guys. Thank you for being and having us. This is the last of Real Life Show on tour for now. Maybe who else we could come back here and interview anybody, couldn't we? Greg, we get Greg on.
Pretty good.
Sit Greg on. Ali, yeah.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you for watching, though. You can watch on YouTube, and you can watch. You can watch on Spotify now. You can. There's a little window in the corner, and you can pop it up and watch. Everybody, we
For real?
that is, every time you learn something new, don't you, on the Real Life Show?
There you go.
But you can listen on Amazon Music, Apple Music now as well, and Audible. You can say, Alexa, play the Real Life Show, and she'll say, playing Real Life Show with Nathan Amy Jorden. I haven't yet. I keep saying it. Let us know if it does. But thank you for watching again, and we'll see you next month.
See
Bye.
you.